I've seen the trend for years.
What's the trend?
The trend is always making excuses. It's always throwing your team under the bus. There's never accountability with that guy.
What would you think if I told you that Doc Rivers is not as bad of a coach as everyone thinks? Doc has been getting absolutely roasted on Twitter these past few weeks. JJ Redick certainly hasn't been quiet about his opinion of Doc. It's easy to pile on agreeing with everyone's take online, but is Doc really that bad? Let's take a deeper look. We will see his career with a certain type of team has been stellar, but it's not just an opinion. It can be backed up with data. Take a second, show some love, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. This allows me to continue making content for you all. Appreciate it. The legendary coach has had some of the best rosters in the NBA and hasn't been able to win 2 consecutive playoff series since 2012, almost 12 years ago. He has definitely had superstar talent to win. He coached the Clippers with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan, the Sixers with Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Tyrese Maxey, and now the Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. If there's one thing he's had on his team during his league career, it's been the talent to accomplish any goal. So, how is this possible? How is it possible that every time Doc loses a job, another contending team offers him a spot that only the best coaches in the entire league can aspire to? How can this man keep getting away with it? The problem isn't just the fact that he's not able to make it to the final stages of the playoffs. The problem is the way his defeats have come. His teams have gone down in history for suffering total debacles, setting records for all the wrong reasons. Moments that fans still remember to this day for the embarrassment they caused entire cities. Their hopes and dreams were crushed because of a coach who, in theory, knew how to win. How is it possible that NBA organizations haven't yet realized that there are certain types of teams that he is just not capable of coaching? Just 4 years after finishing his NBA playing career, Doc Rivers found a job as a head coach. His coaching career began with the Orlando Magic, where he was named head coach in 1999. The Magic were not considered a strong team at the time, having lost Shaquille O'Neal to free agency in 1996, and Penny Hardaway struggling with injuries. Despite low expectations and a roster lacking in star power, Rivers led the Magic to a 41-41 record in his first season and was named NBA Coach of the Year. This accomplishment was particularly notable because the team was competitive and fought for playoff spots, highlighting Rivers' ability to maximize his roster's potential. On the Magic's starless roster, Rivers demonstrated his ability to create a defensive system that ranked 9th in the NBA. No Orlando players scored more than 17 points a night, and Darrell Armstrong and Ron Mercer led the team in scoring. This performance earned him nothing less than Coach of the Year honors in his first season in the league. Also, to be fair, Doc had a tremendous influence on the development of one of the players who was destined to lead the NBA. T-Mac went from averaging 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists per game in his last season with the Raptors to 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists per game in his first season in Orlando. With his breakout performance, he won the Most Improved Player award. So, credit to the coach who gave him wings. In fact, McGrady's 3rd season in Orlando under Doc was the best of his career.
McGrady through the legs, right around field, up and under, off the glass. Tracy McGrady.
With averages of 32 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists per game that allowed him to finish 4th in the 2003 MVP race. But despite his performance and Doc's ability to qualify the Magic for the playoffs, the coach was unable to advance out of the first round of the Eastern Conference. The closest he came was forcing a 7th game against the Detroit Pistons, who would go on to win the legendary 2004 ring just 1 year later. The bad news is that this happened after blowing the first 3-1 lead of his career. The bad news kept coming. The start of the following season, Orlando started the season with a record of 1 win and 10 losses. Doc was immediately fired from the team. It was then when Doc unexpectedly landed the job that made him a legendary coach. Paul Pierce's Boston Celtics were interested in his services and decided to offer him the job at the front of the green bench, a team that was not at its best at the time, but in a short time would go on to have one of the most incredible seasons in recent NBA history. The Celtics qualified for the first round of the playoffs in Doc's first season, but missed the next 2 chances of the postseason with 33 and 24 win seasons. Before the arrival of Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, the Celtics were rebuilding under Doc. He was instrumental in developing young talent like Al Jefferson, Rajon Rondo, and Kendrick Perkins during this period. His coaching during these leaner years helped lay the groundwork for the team's future success. Danny Ainge pulled several aces out of his sleeve. Boston landed Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen during the 2007 offseason, who joined Paul Pierce and Rajon Rondo to form a big four that would wreak havoc on the league. In the first season after the acquisitions, Boston posted an impressive record of 66 wins and 16 losses. Not only that, but they went on to win a ring in the 2008 finals against the Los Angeles Lakers of Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol. Doc Rivers ascended to the Olympus of coaches after this rapid development of stars, and came to be considered by many fans as one of the best coaches in the NBA. Certainly, his playbook and ability to get points at crucial moments largely fueled this narrative. However, after this success, and despite Boston holding the core, the Celtics were never able to repeat this feat. The team was always one of the best in the Eastern Conference during the regular season, but they only managed to win the conference title again in 2010, the year they lost the finals in a second meeting with the Lakers. This would be the last conference finals appearance for a coach who, as we have said earlier, has had some of the best rosters in the entire league for years. In the 2011 to 2012 season, after posting a record of 41 wins and 40 losses, the Celtics realized that their window to compete had come to an end. Danny Ainge decided to start with a new project that would include the arrival of a new coach. In a rare move, maybe the only one in recent league history, Boston decided to trade Doc's contract to the Los Angeles Clippers. Yes, you heard that right. The Clippers invested a first-round draft pick to secure the services of coach Doc Rivers. The reason was very simple, and that is that Rivers was still recognized as one of the best coaches in the entire NBA. However, as time has proven, this was not the best decision. Doc went from having one of the best playmakers, Rajon Rondo, to probably the best floor general of his generation, Chris Paul. On top of that, one of the most promising superstars, Blake Griffin,
Griffin on the run, he's looking, he's going, Griffin. Oh, come on! Oh, man!
and one of the best defensive centers of the decade, DeAndre Jordan.
That's a new lob, the jam! That's a new play!
Lob City was a real powerhouse in the Western Conference. The regular season was simply made easy for them every year. In fact, in the 4 seasons Rivers coached the team, the franchise posted a regular season record of 217 wins and 111 losses. But their performance in the playoffs was always completely different. In their first attempt, Doc's Clippers fell in the conference semifinals to a young Oklahoma City Thunder in 6 games, an expected result against a team that only 2 seasons earlier had reached the finals. But it was the second attempt that went down in history as one of the greatest sports debacles we've ever seen. Their opponent, James Harden's Rockets. One of the greatest ironies we've ever seen. It was the Clippers who traded Josh Smith to Houston during the regular season, a relatively washed-up player who was unable to fill the role of a small forward in the NBA because of his inability to stretch the floor. What does this have to do with Doc Rivers? Well, you'll see. The Clippers were leading the series 3-1. They only needed to win one more for the team to qualify for the conference finals for the first time in their history. But away from home, the Clippers lost. Okay, 3-2. Back playing at Staples in Game 6, everything seemed under control. The Clippers were leading the game by 19 points during the third quarter. That's when Josh Smith and the Rockets did the impossible. Josh had made a total of 18 three-pointers during the entire regular season with Houston. Well, in that game he made 4. Not only that, but he scored 19 points, adding to Dwight's 20-point, 21-rebound performance, allowing the Rockets to pull out the win in an away game in which their star made 5 of 20 shots. After suffering a 40-15 run in the fourth quarter, the Clippers were the disappointment of the season. This story has repeated itself over and over again for Doc. His team would fall in the first round of the 2015-2016 and 2016-2017 seasons to the Blazers and the Jazz respectively. And after these failures, the franchise would decide to try a transition process to find new players to lead the project. Griffin, Paul, and Jordan left Los Angeles and left the roster with hardly any star power. Interestingly, this would be the best news for Rivers. After the dismantling of the Lob City, many expected the Clippers to enter a rebuilding phase. However, under Rivers, the Clippers remained competitive. This team was known for its gritty play and deep bench, even pushing the Golden State Warriors to 6 games in the first round of the playoffs. During the 2 seasons in which the team's main offensive references were Tobias Harris and Lou Williams, the coach not only managed to make that group of players compete, but also turned them into a winning team. The Clippers would go on to post 2 seasons of 42 and 48 wins that put them above league average. Most incredible of all, the team had almost no defensive talent. With role players, Doc was able to create an offensive system that allowed him to finish 9th in the league in offensive rating. His performance with a team of solid players was so superb that his name reappeared on the list of NBA's best coaches. He even finished 2nd in Coach of the Year voting, just after Mike Budenholzer. But the lack of pressure Rivers enjoyed would fade during the following summer. Why? Because Steve Ballmer managed to lure in 2 top-tier superstars to the franchise at the same time.
Now lost to Denver. That's only happened 10 times. Kawhi Leonard! George wants it all. The 3! Oh, my goodness!
Kawhi Leonard and Paul George became the NBA's new hot duo, and the Clippers went from a solid team to top contenders for the title during the 2019 to 2020 season. After a good regular season during the shortened COVID season, the team did not fare well in the bubble. When I say it didn't, I mean Doc Rivers did it again. Again, the Nuggets came from behind in the series to the Clippers after trailing 3-1.
Oh my goodness. There's 2 minutes and 10 seconds left in this game and it is over. The Denver Nuggets are up 20! It's over!
Doc became the first coach in history to blow 3-1 leads in the playoffs during his career. This is a record nobody wants to have. And the reason he's gotten such a bad reputation as a coach now, when it matters most, he chokes in the playoffs. The most curious thing? That he's also the only one to have it happen more than once. Yeah, unheard of. After the Clippers acquired Ty Lue's services, Doc was offered a spot by another franchise that was a solid contender for a ring. This time, it would be the Philadelphia 76ers, with Joel Embiid and later, James Harden. Doc arrived to replace Brett Brown, who had been unable to provide consistency during the playoffs during his only stint as head coach in Philly. But what no one in the franchise knew is that they probably couldn't have made a worse decision. Doc coached 3 runs of playoffs in Philadelphia. In all 3, he advanced out of the first round of the playoffs. And in all 3, he was eliminated in the second round. First against the Hawks, in a series against a team far inferior in talent. A terrible loss, and thanks to Doc, might have ended Ben Simmons' career as we knew it.
Doc, you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now.
Second against the Miami Heat in just 6 games, and third against the Boston Celtics in a series that the Sixers, of course, were winning 3-2. Not with Simmons, not with Harden. Doc was not able to reach the conference finals with stars in any manner. Yet, somehow, Doc was always able to outperform above expectations on teams where he had no stars available. Logically, the Sixers management, led by Joshua Harris, realized that the coach could be the problem, and Philadelphia decided to dispense with Doc to get Nick Nurse. When this season started, Doc had no job, and knowing that he was unlikely to find a head coaching position in the NBA again, he began commentating games on ABC and joining ESPN's analyst staff. But when he least expected it, the coach got a very important call. The Bucks, another contending team that was able to lift the Larry O'Brien in the 2021 season, wanted to make Rivers their new coach. Yes, surprising for a team that was ranked 2nd in the Eastern Conference standings to fire their winning coach mid-season. So, Doc would once again have 2 superstars on his roster, perennial MVP candidate Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. Since then, Doc has coached 12 games, and of those 12 games, he's won 5 and lost 7. A terrible record from a team that should win most of its games, yet has lost to very weak teams like the Memphis Grizzlies, or should we say the Memphis Hustle. The Bucks are getting a reality check under a coach who has shown a reputation for underperforming with stars.
Stay with our running game and stay committed on defense. Let's get off to a good start. Let's go, baby.
After listening to his story, Did you notice the pattern? This is precisely what I was referring to at the beginning of the video. Doc has proven throughout his career to be a bad coach, except on one specific type of team. He's proven to be a good coach only in a very specific set of circumstances, which is basically the absence of stars. It doesn't make any sense. The worse the roster he has, he's able to exceed expectations. Maybe he needs to be the underdog. Undermanned Doc is able to lift his team to unexpected heights, something that was demonstrated in Orlando, then during his last seasons in Los Angeles, prior to the arrival of Leonard and George, and then when the injury-prone Joel Embiid sat out with the Sixers. His ability to coax success from lesser rosters, teams without marquee names or the high expectations. Although it sounds crazy, there are coaches who are just like that. The reasons can be many. Maybe the pressure there is on him to fully utilize star players, or the lack of ability to manage egos in the locker room, or outdated playbook regarding stars. That is something that only he knows, but yet he has been unable to overcome it with all his experience. And yet, teams still don't seem to notice. Doc Rivers has proven himself incapable of advancing in the playoffs with star-laden teams. Why does he keep getting offers exclusively from contenders with star-laden teams? That's the million-dollar question. But perhaps the explanation is simpler than it seems. Doc Rivers proved 16 years ago that he was a coach capable of elevating his team to winning the championship. He won it all. He has a ring to show for it. Maybe it's that one championship that is keeping the hope alive for teams across the league. Despite holding the record for 3-1 playoff chokes, they still want to believe he can win it all again.